Hey, and welcome to our video. Today Dakota and I were playing on... Jeez, what an intro.
Hey, welcome to the video. How you doing?
Dakota and I were actually doing more planning today than shooting, but then we got on the topic of the Blumhouse Universal Monster reboot remakes, whatever they are.
Whatever you want to call it.
And we thought, okay, we might as well just fucking shoot this. So this video is going to be a lot more off the cuff than our already off the cuff videos are. So I don't know how this is going to turn out.
Pretty risky move, not gonna lie.
Yeah, so we're each just gonna... I'll do a quick introduction about what's already happened and what's apparently in the works, and then we're each just gonna say a movie that we would both like to see happen. So, first and foremost, the Universal MonsterVerse was Universal's attempt at having like a Marvel-style cinematic universe with their classic monsters. I don't think that's inherently a terrible idea, but the execution was terrible.
It was a disaster.
We had, I don't remember if I, Frankenstein was supposed to be one of their starts, but I think that that speaks very truly to what I, Frankenstein was. Everybody forgets that movie exists. Yeah. But Dracula Untold, I'm pretty sure was like, this is going to be the start of the MonsterVerse, and then it sucked, and they were like, never mind. And then they came out with The Mummy.
Yeah. That was the last one we got.
Yeah, which they went balls deep on that one. They were like, "This is the Dark Universe," and they even had like a Marvel logo at the beginning that said Dark Universe.
Yeah, there was that. They had some like other characters showing up.
Yeah,
like Jekyll and all that shit. And it was clearly there was setup there, but then that didn't work out so good for anybody.
Yeah, it was just really poorly executed. So the Dark Universe kind of died. But what's happened now is that they've given Blumhouse the rights, or allowed Blumhouse, or done whatever with them to get them to basically make not an extended universe. It's not really clear right now. Last I heard that it's not. They're just going to be standalone films, or at the very least, they'll be kind of doing what DC does, where they might cross over at points, but they're not like...
It's not really connected.
You don't need to watch all of them.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be similar to how the original Universal films kind of connected.
Yeah.
And so far we've gotten The Invisible Man, which was directed by, I'm going to get his name wrong, I might as well look it up, but yeah, Lee Winnell, I'm pretty sure is how you say his name. He made Upgrade, which is a great movie.
That's a great fucking film.
Yeah, and I really liked The New Invisible Man. I thought it was really good. And I think the two leading, like, kind of rumored movies, like the next couple films, are apparently going to be Bride of Frankenstein, which is kind of weird. That's
an interesting choice, yeah.
Yeah. And Dracula is another one I've heard. And the last thing I heard was that the guys at Blumhouse want to do a really dark Dracula, which I'm all for.
I'm game for that. I mean, the last two Dracula things I've seen have been arguably a more of the silly side, that being Dracula AD 1972. That film's a fucking gem. I'd watch that any day of the week. And then the good old Sherlock Boys version of Dracula on Netflix, which is divisive, to say the least.
The thing with Blumhouse is that for every two good Blumhouse movies, you get 5 shit ones.
Yeah, they're kind of weird, because, like, no matter what, they generate money. Because, like, their whole thing is, like, let's just make a movie. If it's good, it's not, that's cool, but we'll just make it real cheap. Not the saying that it looks shitty, but, like, it's not like a Marvel production or anything.
Which I appreciate.
So then it's just guaranteed to make money, even if it's like a little bit, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I don't even mind that. I think maybe having constraints forces creativity.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying that I think with these guys in charge, I think we're gonna at least get, like, a consistent amount of movies.
I'm hopeful that these movies will get the tender love and care that I think they deserve. One of my favorite series of films is the original Universal horror cycle. Like, I would say that The Wolfman, the original Dracula, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, Ghost of Frankenstein are all movies that would be somewhere in the top 100 of my favorite films for sure. Yeah, I love those movies.
There's a lot to sift through in that old series, but most of them I would say are pretty solid.
Even the bad ones I really enjoy, just because they like ooze the style of those films, like the Foggy Cemeteries, the Villagers. It's kind of dank. It's
they got their own very unique aesthetic that works.
Yeah,
at the very least. Yeah.
So I'll let you take the lead here, but let's get into what is a movie or a monster that we would like to see get rebooted.
In my mind, the one that always comes to mind is the creature from the Black Lagoon, because I'm not actually super familiar with all his old movies. I've seen like the first one, I think, once, and then I haven't seen anything else he's really been in. But I think that actually speaks more into why I want him to be one of the first to come back, because he's been in like fucking quarantine himself for ever now. I can't even remember the last time something with him came out.
The 50s.
Yeah, exactly. So he's well overdue for some sort of reinvention, and especially since his old design, I guess you could say, isn't really the most scary in today's standards, you could say. I think a lot of people would look at him and think he's kind of silly looking.
It's a great costume, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I guess I'll correct myself. The last time he had his own movie was in the 50s.
Right.
But he makes appearances all over the place,
Yeah.
and most notably, I would say, in not even recent anymore, would be the Monster Squad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's in that.
Yeah, that's still not recent, but I guess that's the last, main incarnation of him. He's got references and everything, and you see, like, little characters based off him in cartoons and stuff, but he hasn't, like, had, like, his own big old film in forever. I'd love to see a new take on him, give him a spooky look, and, make it nice little scary.
What would you think like a Black Lagoon movie now would look like? Because Invisible Man, in the original, it was like a chemical concoction, and it was a horror comedy. And the Invisible Man, it wasn't much. There wasn't much mystery to it. You kind of are introduced and see that he's invisible in like the first 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Whereas the new one and a lot of subsequent Invisible Man movies have all tried something really different.
Yeah.
The newest one is like an abuse story. It's a thriller more than a horror film.
Yeah, and it plays with the expectations that like he might not even really exist for like a good half of the film.
Yeah.
Until you eventually do see him.
Yeah.
But with the creature, I just like to see, because I think he works obviously best in like kind of swampy like environments, or environments with a lot of water around. So like I can see like a boat thriller maybe with like him being on it, like maybe something like Isolated, like The Thing, where it's kind of like it's all based on like tension and everything, and him picking people one by one or something, or
like what do you say, like Jaws, like it's like maybe a fishing boat. And
it could be something like that, or like an expedition. I don't know. You could do like a Shape of Water thing where they find this old creature and he breaks out.
I didn't even think of Shape of Water. I guess they already did make the creature from the Black Lagoon.
He's the closest we've got.
Yeah.
But he's still not creature.
Guillermo del Toro wanted to make a creature from the Black Lagoon movie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I agree. I would love to see like some scientific expedition, kind of like maybe even like an old mummy movie. I think that's what that is what the first Creature from the Black Lagoon film was. I really enjoyed the old Creature from the Black Lagoon movies, Revenge of the Creature and Creature Walks Among Us. They're really interesting, and especially Creature Walks Among Us, I think, is pretty underrated.
Right.
It's a really interesting film. Where the creature starts to become more human or integrated into society in a way.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Bub from Day of the Dead.
Yeah. I think they could really make a new, pretty awesome looking creature to wreak a little havoc. And like you said, maybe they could play with the Walks Among Us angle at some point, where maybe he's less a monster, more just like a missing link between humanity and evolution. I don't know.
Well, I think that was one of the interesting things. I've always attributed certain really important details to each of the Universal monsters that I think makes them all interesting. Dracula, I've always seen as like this external evil.
Yeah.
And it's man versus evil. Like Van
Yeah.
Helsing and Mina and all these human characters against the essence of evil.
Yeah.
And then the Mummy, to me, always represented like man versus his own ambition, where like they're messing with things that they really shouldn't, you know?
Yeah.
And uncovering things from our past that maybe should be left alone.
Yeah.
Frankenstein is man and science, kind of like
man playing God.
Man playing God, man messing with things. Again, man meddling,
Yeah.
but with a scientific spin as opposed to looking into our own past spin.
Yeah.
And then the Wolfman is similar to Dracula, except it's that internal struggle. It's man versus himself.
Yeah.
You know, it's an internal evil. The Wolfman could be symbolic of a lot of things that I think, are very interesting ideas. And then the Creature from the Black Lagoon is like man versus nature.
Yeah.
Very much so. But also that nature's not necessarily evil. They go to the lagoon. They invade his home.
It's just them fighting back, really.
Yeah, so I think you could tell a really interesting story, maybe where, like, it's like, wait, were we the baddies the entire time kind of thing?
You can definitely play with that in a creature movie for sure.
Yeah, I would hope it'd be a hard R, too. Rated R.
I'm kind of hoping that they kind of make that a standard for these films.
Yeah.
I think you could maybe get away with not doing it for, I don't know, Frankenstein or something, but like I feel like especially with like Wolfman or Creature, where it's like pretty savage beasts killing people, that it has to be a pretty hard R. I don't know. That's just me though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I guess I'll do mine now, unless you have something else you want to add.
No, I think that sums it up pretty much. I just want my green boy back in the main light.
Okay. I was gonna say the Wolfman, and I do want a Wolfman, but I'm kind of going to jump ahead a little bit here.
Okay.
Because I think that some sort of werewolf movie will hopefully come out in the form of the Wolfman if they're doing these Universal monster movies. After Invisible Man did well, I really hope Dracula does well. And then I think if Dracula does good enough, then they'll commit to a couple more movies. Yeah. And I feel like Wolfman would be at the top of that list.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to waste my pick on the Wolfman. What I am going to say is I really want to see a new Frankenstein meets the Wolfman movie.
Yeah, I'd love to see some crossover like that. We didn't really get a whole lot of it, but when we did, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, in the old Universal monster movies, they kind of always got the fighting wrong, except for in two of the films, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman and Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. I think those are the two that got like the most bang for your buck in terms of monster brawling. In the two House movies, they kind of only are like, like Dracula's at the beginning of the movie and then he dies halfway through before Frankenstein and the Wolfman even show up, and then the Wolfman only actually fights the doctor, not the monster, and then it's always they kind of blew it.
Yeah,
but
don't really know how they would do that.
Yeah, but Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, I feel like that would be a movie that I feel like they wouldn't do, because I feel like the full monster mash, like the Avengers film, is more appealing, where you get all the monsters together. And so I feel like, we get like all the Wolfman, Dracula, Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, we get all these movies, and then it's like, the House of Dracula, and then they all fight or whatever. I don't know what they'd call it. The Monster Mash. Just, that's a terrible title.
Monster Squad 2.
Monster Squad 2, yeah, whatever. But then they get all the monsters to fight. But I would really like to just see Frankenstein and the Wolfman, and I would do it where Dr. Frankenstein, assuming he doesn't die, or some variation of Frankenstein still there, because I love the Lawrence Talbot's kind of drive to free himself of the werewolf curse. So I would really like to see a movie that, and I didn't even ask you this, but I would like to hear what you have to say. I would like to see this movie take place in the past.
Okay.
So I think ideally a Frankenstein and a Wolfman movie, I'd want it to be 1920s or earlier.
Right.
And we have Frankenstein shamed, or whoever it is, like it's a family member, is no longer practicing medicine or whatever. Maybe the monster's been defeated somehow. Maybe we go the Hammer route. I think I'd personally prefer to go the Hammer route, especially if we get two Frankenstein movies, Bride and Frankenstein. I would like to see it where, the monster's gone, so it's just Dr. Frankenstein. And he is contacted by the Wolfman somehow, where he's like, please, you gotta help me out here. You gotta get this fucking thing out of me.
Right.
And I just really want to see a film that deals with both that internal struggle that I was talking about earlier, where the Wolfman is like dealing with this inner demon that he really is powerless to whenever the full moon comes around, and then combine that with Dr. Frankenstein, who, maybe has some sort of emotional struggle where, he feels the shame too. It's not like Frankenstein's evil in the book, or that I remember in the original film at least. He's kind of like this guy who really feels he's doing something important in the medical world and to science, and then he feels shame for creating his monster and realizes the error of his way. So there's maybe this internal struggle where the Wolfman's like, hey, literally, I'm internally evil. Yeah. You only fucked up. But Frankenstein also feels like he's evil internally, and he's fighting with his own demons, and he's not sure if he wants to go back to practicing medicine to save the Wolfman. And then ultimately, I think it somehow leads to a battle between a new Frankenstein monster. Like, let's say Frankenstein figures out that the only way to get the Wolfman out of Frankenstein, or out of Lawrence Talbot, is to transfer the soul, because all those old movies had like transferring of souls and blood transfusions and stuff. I'm basically pitching a movie that nobody else would want to see except people who like the old Universal Monster movies, where he's like, I gotta transfer the Wolfman out of you into a new body. And he's like, I don't want to do that to another person because nobody's going to volunteer for that shit. Nobody's going to want to be a Wolfman. So I'm just going to make another monster to put the Wolfman into. Something goes wrong. The new monster does, like the Wolfman ends up, you know, breaking out of his shackles during the experiment. And then the monster is revived. And then we have a new monster fighting. I was thinking
like you were the one, like a hybrid. Like there's going to be a Wolfman Frankenstein running around or something.
Maybe that would be cool.
That'd be weird, but I could see it. And yeah, I like your angle going on with specifically with Frankenstein himself, where his like guilt and, you know, shame of what he's done would probably like lead him into being like, all right, I should probably help this guy to, I don't know, atone for my sins in a way, I guess.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the pain is that like he's like, the only way I can do this is if I make another fucking monster.
Yeah,
like that's the only way. I gotta transfer the Wolfman spirit essence, whatever the curse, into a new person.
Yeah,
and I can't morally do that to another human, so I guess I'll stitch together another monster.
Begrudgingly agrees to do it.
Yeah, and then maybe that would be cool. Maybe it does transfer in, and then the Frankenstein becomes like a werewolf. You know, it'd be a hard R, and I would want a really graphic transformation scene. And yeah, so that's that. But yeah, my dream would be another Frankenstein meets the Wolfman.
Yeah, that'd be awesome to see some crossovers and stuff. Like their whole Dark Universe idea could have worked fine if they just made the movies a little less awful. But
yeah, I think if they wanted to make the Dark Universe work, they should have leaned more into the horror, because that's what people want to see with monsters. Like you could still have a heroic element. We're gonna go sidetracked here now, because now I got something to fucking say about the Dark Universe. All they had to do was have a faction of heroes and a faction of villains and build them up in their own movies. You could have done The Mummy and have that been about, and then have it just be a mummy movie, and then in the end have the archaeologist be the hero, which is kind of what they did, but they gave Tom Cruise mummy powers, which was really fucking dumb.
Mummy had too much powers in the first place, if you ask me.
Yeah, it should have really just been like Tom Cruise defeats the mummy, and now he's like this archaeologist that's hell-bent on, you know, stopping these ancient evils from coming back. Then you do a Van Helsing movie, maybe.
Yeah.
And you do a Frankenstein and a bride, sure. And then you do Dracula and like a Wolfman.
Yeah.
And then the big crossover film is like the archaeologist from the Mummy, Van Helsing, teaming up with Dr. Jekyll.
Yeah, he was in that one.
And then they like go to fight the monsters, and like Dracula has assembled all the monsters to like, you know, take over the world or whatever. And
adult monster squad, basically.
Yeah, and just make an adult monster squad movie. Literally, they fucked it up so bad. Yeah. I mean, thanks for watching.